The store was too bright, the air too cold. Sierra walked in slowly, holding her small daughter's hand and carrying her baby boy on her hip. Her clothes were thin, patched in places, and her shoes had holes in the soles she didn't care about herself, but her children were hungry. She passed rows of colorful foods stacked on metal shelves. Her daughter looked at the fruit, eyes wide. Her baby son made a small sound, not crying, just weak, like he had no energy left to cry. Sierra picked up a small bag of rice, then a can of soup. She added a loaf of bread and a small packet of powdered milk. That was it. That was all she could afford. Maybe not even this much. She looked at her daughter, Lena, and smiled, even though it was fake. "We'll eat tonight, my star," she whispered. The store was owned by humans. It was cheaper than alien markets, but the stares were sharp. People moved away from her as she walked by, as if being poor was a disease they might catch. The line to the cashier was long. She waited at the back, trying to stay calm. Her daughter coughed again, and someone near them shifted away. "Don't touch anything," Sierra said softly to Lena, who was staring at a shelf of candy. Lena nodded and held her mother's hand tighter. When it was finally Sierra's turn, she stepped forward. Placing the items on the counter carefully, her hands shook. Her heart beat faster. The cashier was a young human male, maybe in his 20s. He had short blonde hair and tired eyes. His name tag said Matt. He looked up, then down at the items. 1 beep, 2 beeps, 3 beeps. The screen showed the total. Sierra's stomach twisted. She knew it was too much. "I only have 12 credits, she said in a small voice. Matt paused. His fingers hovered over the screen. "You want me to remove something?" Kaya asked gently. She nodded, avoiding his eyes. "Please, just the bread," she whispered. "The rest." "I can't." Matt looked at her, then at the 2 children. His eyes stopped on the baby boy, who looked pale and tired. There was a silence, the kind that felt heavy. The customer behind them tapped their foot loudly, but Matt didn't move. Without saying a word, Matt reached into his pocket and pulled out his own credit chip. He tapped it on the scanner. The machine beeped. "Paid?" he said quietly. Sierra blinked, not understanding. "What did you do?" she asked. "I paid for it," Matt said, bagging the items quickly. "Take it, please." "No. I can't let you do that," she said, her voice shaking. "Yes, you can," he replied. "I used to be one of those kids. I know what it's like." Tears filled Sierra's eyes. She had held them back all day, but now they fell. "You don't even know us," she said. "Why would you help?" Matt gave a small shrug. "Because someone should." He said, "Because I can." Lena looked up at him and smiled. "You're nice," she said. "You look strong." Matt chuckled. "Thanks, kid." He handed the bag to Sierra. She took it. With shaking hands, still crying, "Thank you," she said. "From my heart." As she turned to leave, Matt leaned forward and whispered, "Make sure they eat well tonight, all right?" Sierra nodded, walking slowly toward the door. She felt like her legs might collapse, but she held on. Outside, the air was even colder, but the bag in her hands felt warm. It was more than food. It was hope, but behind them, in the corner of the store, someone had been watching. A man in a black coat, holding a small device. His eyes followed Sierra as she left. He spoke into the device. "Found her, the one with the kids." Then he vanished into the crowd. The wind outside cut through the thin fabric of Sierra's clothes like cold knives. She pulled her coat tighter around her children, hugging the food bag like it was treasure. The streetlights flickered above, casting long shadows that twisted. On the cracked pavement, Sierra moved quickly, feet splashing through shallow puddles of rainwater mixed with oil. She didn't notice the man behind her, following at a slow distance, keeping to the shadows. She didn't know she was being watched. Her small home was in a metal block on the edge of the city. A building stacked with poor aliens like herself. The doors had no locks, just broken panels and rusted frames. As she reached her floor, she pressed her palm on the scanner. It buzzed weakly and opened with a tired click. Inside, it was dark and cold, but her children ran inside like it was a castle. Lena giggled when she saw the bread. "Can I eat it now, Mommy?" Sierra smiled. "Yes, my star, just one piece. Then soup." She lit the stove with an old lighter and placed the can on top. The smell of warm food soon filled the air, making the tiny room feel less lonely. She didn't see the red light blink. Outside the hallway, a small hidden camera had been placed near her door. The watcher was back on the street, speaking into his device. "She's inside, 2 kids. Looks like she doesn't know we're watching." A voice replied, "Wait." For orders, no mistakes. Meanwhile, Matt was closing his shift at the store. He sat in the break room, eating a cold sandwich. His mind kept returning to the alien woman and her kids. He didn't know why it bothered him so much. Maybe because he saw his own childhood in their faces. Maybe because no one had ever helped his family when they were struggling. His coworker Lisa walked in. "You okay, Matt? You look like you just saw a ghost." He nodded slowly. "I'm fine, just tired." But he wasn't fine. His gut told him something was off. It wasn't just the woman's sadness. It was the way that man near aisle 5 kept watching them. He remembered the dark coat, the way the guy didn't even pick up groceries. Just stood there, pretending to scroll through his compad. Matt stood up suddenly. "Lisa, can you cover my shift tomorrow?" Lisa raised an eyebrow. "Sure. Why?" "I need to check on someone back in her home." Sierra fed her baby son slowly. His eyes were brighter now, his tiny hands holding her sleeve. Lena was already asleep on the thin mattress. Hugging a worn-out toy shaped like a starfish, Sierra looked at them and whispered, "You're safe, for now." But outside, the watcher had taken a position across the street. He watched the light go out in their window, then typed something into his device. Subject located, prepare extraction. Suddenly, a voice cracked through his earpiece. "Cancel extraction. You're not the only one watching." "What?" the man whispered. "What do you mean?" New player entered the field. The voice replied, "Human male. Possible interference." Matt stood in front of a city terminal, searching the area logs. He used his old security ID from his short time with the civilian patrols. He entered the store's camera feed and zoomed into aisle 5. There it was, a clear image of the man in the dark coat. Eyes locked on Sierra, not the shelves. Matt narrowed his eyes. "You weren't shopping," he muttered. He printed the image and folded it into his pocket. He had no idea who the man was, but he knew one thing. Sierra wasn't safe, and tomorrow he was going to find out why. In the shadows of the city, where aliens like Sierra were forgotten, someone was pulling strings, watching every move. And Matt had just stepped into something much bigger than charity. He didn't save a starving mother, he saved a target. And someone, somewhere, wasn't happy about that. Morning came slowly, with a dull gray light slipping through the cracked window. Sierra woke with a stiff neck. She had fallen asleep, sitting beside her children. Her back against the cold wall, Lena still slept soundly, her tiny arm resting on the baby's blanket. The baby stirred and made soft sounds, hungry but warm. Sierra stood and stretched. She checked the food bag. The bread was half gone, but the soup and milk were untouched. She was saving them for tonight. As she poured some water into a cracked cup, she heard something. A soft knock at the door. Her heart froze. She didn't have visitors. She didn't have friends. Her first instinct was fear. She moved quickly and pressed her back against the wall. Her hand reached for the metal rod she kept behind the door. Another knock came, louder this time. "Sierra," a voice called. "It's me, Matt." The cashier. She blinked, confused. She peeked through the side panel. And it was true. He stood outside. Holding something in his hands, she opened the door. A little, the chain still locked in place. "What are you doing here?" she asked softly. Matt looked nervous. He held up a small bag. "I brought some fruit and warm food from the store." For the kids, Syrah's eyes softened, but her voice stayed sharp. "You followed me." Matt shook his head. "No, I remembered the street name on your food chip. I asked around. I needed to make sure you were okay." Syrah looked behind her, saw her kids still sleeping. She hesitated, then closed the door, undid the chain, and opened it again. "Come in quietly," she said. Matt stepped in and looked around. The room was tiny, broken in places, but clean. He could see how much effort Syrah put into making it livable. Despite everything, he placed the food on the table. Then looked at her seriously. "I think someone's after you," he said. Syrah's face went pale. "What do you mean?" Matt pulled out the printed photo of the man from aisle 5. "This guy, he was watching you in the store. Didn't buy anything, didn't move, just watched." Syrah took the photo with shaking hands. Her eyes widened. She knew him, his name. "Is Voren?" she whispered. "He works with the city registrars, but also with private collectors." "Collectors?" Matt asked. Syrah nodded slowly. "People who take rare aliens. Mothers, children, anyone with unique features, they sell them for money, experiments, or worse." Matt clenched his fists, "And he was watching you." "I escaped a facility 2 years ago," she said, her voice trembling. "They kept us. Like animals, I hid, changed names, moved cities. I thought we were safe." Matt looked at the children. "Sleeping without knowing the danger outside their door? You're not safe anymore." He said, "He found you." Syrah nodded, tears in her eyes. "I can't run again. I have nowhere left to go." Matt stood. "Then, I'll help you stay." She looked at him like he was crazy. "Why would you do that?" "You're just a cashier." Matt gave a small smile. "Maybe. But I've seen what happens when good people look away. I'm not looking away." A sudden sound cut through the moment to knock again. This time harder, more violent. Syrah's face filled with panic. "He found me." Matt grabbed the metal rod and stood near the door. "Go to the back room. Lock it with your kids." Now Syrah picked up the baby, shook Lena awake, and rushed them into the back room, locking the thin metal door behind her. Matt stood in front of the main door as another loud bang came. Then a voice, cold and cruel. "Syrah, open the door. You know I'll come in either way." Matt didn't speak. He waited, breathing slow and steady. The door shook, then suddenly cracked open with a loud bang. A tall man in a dark coat stepped inside. Face shadowed, eyes glowing faint blue. Voren, he didn't expect to see a human standing there with a metal rod. "Who are you?" Voren asked. Matt didn't answer. He swung the rod hard, striking Voren in the chest. The man stumbled back, shocked by the resistance. Matt rushed him again, but Voren was fast, stronger than he looked. He grabbed Matt and slammed him into the wall. "You should have stayed in the store." Voren growled. Matt spat blood, but smiled. "You picked the wrong mom to mess with." Suddenly, a loud alarm rang outside. Flashing red lights blinked through the window. Someone had triggered the emergency alert panel on the hallway wall. Matt grinned. "Looks like I'm not just a cashier anymore." Voren growled and ran. Vanishing into the stairwell, Syrah rushed out with her kids. "What happened?" Matt looked at her with bruised eyes and blood on his shirt. "I bought you 5 minutes," he said, gasping. "Now we need to get you out of here." Matt's hands shook as he locked the door from inside. His shoulder throbbed from where Voren had slammed him into the wall. Syrah held her baby close, rocking him softly as Lena clung to her side. The girl looked up at Matt with wide eyes, not understanding everything. "But knowing they were in danger, we can't stay," Matt said. Breathing hard, he'll be back. And next time, he won't come alone. Sierra nodded slowly. I have a few things packed. In case I had to run again, she moved quickly, opening a hidden panel in the floor, pulling out a small bag. Inside were old ID chips, some credits, and a faded photo of her children when they were younger. Matt helped her pack food, stuffing the remaining bread and milk into a cloth pouch. We'll need to move fast. Do you know a way out of the building that isn't the main stairs? Yes, Sierra said. There's a broken elevator shaft in the back hallway. I used it once when the city guards raided this place last year. Matt looked surprised. You climbed down an elevator shaft with 2 kids? Sierra gave a faint smile. You'd be surprised what a mother can do when she has no choice. They moved fast, Matt carrying Lena while Sierra strapped her baby to her chest. Every hallway they passed felt too quiet. Every shadow felt like eyes. Suddenly, the emergency lights in the building flickered, then went dark. Sierra stopped. That's not normal. Matt whispered, he's cutting power, trying to trap us in. They reached the back hallway, lit only by a faint light from the outside. The elevator doors were already slightly open. Matt pried them wider, then looked down the dark shaft. There's a maintenance ladder, Sierra said, pointing to the left side of the shaft. It goes all the way down to the garbage level. Matt nodded and climbed in first. He tested the ladder. It was old and rusty, but strong enough. Pass Lena to me, he said. Sierra carefully handed her daughter down. Matt held her tight and whispered, be brave, little star. We're going on an adventure. Lena nodded, holding on to him tightly as he began to climb. Sierra followed, the baby pressed against her chest. Step by step, they descended into the darkness above them. Faint sounds echoed, footsteps, metallic and heavy. They're here, Sierra whispered. Matt climbed faster. His hands burned from the cold metal, but he didn't stop. They finally reached the bottom. The garbage level was damp and smelled of rust and mold. Pipes hissed nearby and broken crates lined the walls. Matt helped them down, then turned to Sarah. Where now? There's a drain tunnel, she said. It leads outside the city wall. It's old, but it's safe. They moved again, ducking under low beams and stepping over puddles. The sound of footsteps above was getting louder. Suddenly, a beam of light flashed down the shaft behind them. He's found us, Matt hissed. Go, run. They reached the tunnel, a round metal opening barely wide enough for a person to crawl through. Sierra went first, sliding inside with her baby. Then Lena, then Matt. The tunnel was tight, wet, and dark. But they moved as fast as they could. Behind them, voices shouted. Footsteps clanged. We're almost out, Sarah said, gasping. There's a grate at the end. We just need to break it. Matt pushed forward, his arms sore, his knees scraped. But he didn't stop. They reached the grate. Was rusted and old, but strong. Matt pulled with all his strength. Once, twice, 3 times. The metal creaked and finally snapped loose. He pushed it open, and they tumbled out into the open night air. They were outside the city wall, in the edge of the industrial sector, where broken machines and old factory parts littered the ground. They ran, breathing hard, hearts pounding, until they found shelter beneath a collapsed transport truck. Sierra held her baby close. Lena sat beside her, eyes wide but quiet. Matt sat with his back to the wall, eyes scanning the darkness. They'll be looking, he said, but at least now we have space to move. They won't expect you to make it this far. Sierra looked at him. You didn't have to do this. You could have stayed safe in your store. Matt gave a tired smile. Safe is boring, and I never liked seeing people hurt when I could stop it. Sierra nodded slowly. You're not just a cashier. Matt looked out into the night. No, I guess not anymore. Far above them, on the edge of the city tower, Voron watched the security feeds. one hand resting on the glass. "They're out," his assistant said. The human helped her escape. Voron's eyes narrowed. "Then find them both," he growled, "and bring them back, alive." The wind howled across the dead factory fields, carrying dust and pieces of broken metal like dry leaves. Matt walked ahead, his eyes scanning the shadows. His body ached from the escape, but he didn't slow down. Behind him, Sira followed with the baby wrapped in cloth. Lena walked quietly beside her, holding on to Matt's coat. They had been walking for hours, using the stars to guide them, staying off roads and away from lights. Sira's lips were dry, her voice low. "We're close." "I think, close to what?" Matt asked, his breath visible in the cold air. "There's a station," she said. "Old cargo depot beneath the hills. It used to be a smuggler base. Then rebels took it over. I stayed there once briefly, before I had the baby." Matt raised an eyebrow. "Rebels? The government kind, or the people kind?" Sira gave a tired smile. "The people kind, the ones who don't ask questions when a mother comes knocking." The hills appeared like black waves in the distance, jagged and steep. Matt helped Sira climb. The slope then carried Lena in his arms when her feet began to stumble. Finally, they reached the ridge, and below it was a narrow cave entrance, almost hidden behind rocks. Sira knocked on the side panel 3 times, then twice more. A faint light blinked above the rocks. Then a voice came from a hidden speaker. Sira whispered, "Shelter, not war." The rock door slid open silently, revealing a narrow tunnel lit with orange lights. They stepped inside, and the door closed behind them, sealing out the cold and the danger. The air inside was warmer, filled with the scent of old oil, dust, and steam. As they moved deeper, figures appeared, some human, some alien, all armed. A tall alien woman with silver skin stepped forward, her eyes sharp but not unkind. "Sira," she said, surprised, "we thought you were dead." "I almost was," Sira replied. "They found me again. I need help." The woman looked at Matt and this one. "He saved us," Sira said quickly. "He's with me." The woman nodded and waved them in. "Follow me. There's a room you can rest in." They walked past old cargo crates, broken bots, and a wall lined with maps and screens. The station was underground but alive, humming with quiet resistance. Matt looked around, impressed. "This is more than a shelter," he said. The silver-skinned woman replied. "It used to be a weapons dump during the Second Colony War. Now, it's where people go when they're out of options." Inside a small room, there were 2 beds, clean blankets, and a small heater. Sira placed her baby down and covered him gently. Matt sat on the floor, wiping dirt from his face. Who was that woman? "Her name's Calry," Sira said. "She helped me escape once, years ago. She lost her family to the same people who hunted me." Matt leaned back. "And now they're after both of us." Sira looked at him, her eyes tired but grateful. "You didn't have to come with me. You could have walked away." Matt shook his head. "I couldn't. Not when I saw your little girl looking at candy she knew she couldn't ask for. Not when you stood in line, ready to give it all back." Silence filled the room for a moment, only broken by the soft breathing of the children. Then there was a soft knock at the door. Calry entered, holding a metal tablet. "We checked the feeds," she said. "Your name popped on the outer city grid. Someone marked you as a lost asset. That means a private bounty was placed. No questions asked." "Big reward." Matt frowned. "Someone's paying for her capture." Calry nodded. "And now they'll be paying for yours too." Sira looked down. "This is my fault. I dragged you into this." "No," Matt said firmly. "This is their fault. For thinking people are property." Calry sat down across from them. "We'll help. But this place won't stay hidden forever. They're getting better at scanning underground heat zones." Matt leaned forward. Then what's the plan? There's a pilot, Calry said. He owes me. He can take you off-world. It's not safe here anymore. Sierra hesitated. I've run so much, I don't want to run forever. Calry looked at her gently. Sometimes you run so your children don't have to. Matt stood. Then tell us where to find him. Far above them, in a steel tower lit with red screens. Voran stared at the blinking tracker on his device. She went underground, the assistant said. Voran smiled coldly. Then we'll burn the ground. Asterisk the underground station buzzed. With quiet movement, Matt stood near a cracked map on the wall, listening as Calry pointed to the blinking lines. There's a service rail under the mountain, she said. Old cargo route. It connects to an abandoned launch pad on the edge of the canyon. Sierra stood behind him, holding her baby close. Lena sat nearby, swinging her legs off a crate, still too tired to smile. Calry continued. My contact, the pilot, waits at the launch pad. He won't stay long. He owes me, but only so much. You'll have to reach him before sunrise. Matt checked the time on his comband. That gives us 5 hours. Sierra's voice was soft but firm. Then we go now. Calry nodded and handed Matt a small device, signal flasher. Use it near the launch pad to let the pilot know you're close, and take this too. She handed Sarah a slim blaster. Worn but working. Sarah stared at it, her hands shaking. I haven't held one of these in years. Then, hold it like a mother, Calry said. Not like a soldier. They moved fast. Slipping through a back tunnel with dim lights and dripping pipes, Matt led the way, carrying Lena on his back. Sierra followed close behind, her baby tied to her chest the deeper they went. The louder the tunnel became, creaks from the metal above. The distant hiss of leaking air, the grinding hum of old machinery, still alive. At last, they reached the old rail car, covered in dust but still intact. Matt jumped in first and checked the controls. It's dead, he said. No fuel, Sierra. Looked around. There's a hand-pump rail bike, she said, pointing to a sidetrack. It's slow, but it moves. They climbed onto the rail bike. Matt took one side of the pump, Sierra the other. With a grunt, they pushed down together. The bike creaked and began to roll. Time ticked away as they pushed up and down, up and down. The metal wheels clanking over the track. Sierra's arms ached, but she didn't stop. Her baby cried softly, but Lena held his hand and whispered songs. We're going to fly. Lena said, smiling now. Like in the stories, Matt smiled through the sweat on his brow. Yeah, little star, you're gonna fly. Suddenly, the tunnel lights behind them flickered. Sierra looked back, her eyes wide. They're here. Matt looked ahead. We're close. I can see the canyon glow. But the sound of engines roared behind them. Lights appeared dark, sharp, and fast. Black drones zipped through the tunnel, scanning. Voran's voice crackled through one of the drone speakers. Stop now, and I promise I won't harm thee. Children, Matt growled. Liar. He reached into his coat and pulled out the signal flasher Calry gave him. He pressed the button and a pulsing blue light blinked above the rail bike. Far ahead, on the cliffside, a small ship powered up. Engines hummed and lights blinked awake. He saw the signal, Sarah said. He's coming. Behind them, a drone fired, blasting a piece of the rail. The bike wobbled and nearly tipped. Matt grabbed Lena and yelled, Hold on. Sierra steadied the baby and pulled the blaster from her belt. She turned and fired once, twice, hitting the drone's wing. It spiraled and crashed into the wall. More drones came, faster, sharper. Ahead, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. With a crumbling rail bridge stretching across a deep canyon, Matt pushed harder. If we stop now, we're done. Sierra fired again, her hands steady now. Her past life as a survivor returning to her bones, the rail bike clattered onto the bridge. The planks shaking under the weight. Above, the ship hovered, a ladder dropping down. The pilot leaned out and shouted, "Get up, now!" "They're right behind you." Matt pushed Lena up the ladder first, then handed up the baby. Sarah followed quickly. Her face streaked with sweat and smoke. Matt turned just as the last drone fired. He dove, grabbing the ladder as the bike exploded. Behind him, the pilot lifted off, the ship rising into the sky below. Voren stood at the edge of the canyon, watching them disappear into the clouds. His eyes burned with rage. "They escaped," his assistant said. Voren clenched his fists. "No. They just delayed what's coming, high above the planet." The ship soared through the stars. Inside, Sarah sat holding both her children. Matt leaned against the wall, breathing. "Hard, you're hurt," Sarah said. Matt looked at her and smiled. "We're alive." Lena crawled into his lap. "You saved us again." Matt looked at her and whispered, "Guess I'm not just a cashier anymore." The stars blinked outside. The window endless and wide, but something darker waited in the void ahead. The ship flew through space like a ghost, silent and fast. Inside, Matt sat near a window. Watching the stars pass by, he had never been off-world before. But this moment wasn't peace, it was survival. Sarah sat across from him, her baby asleep. In her arms, Lena lay curled on the floor beside her, wrapped in a warm blanket the pilot had given them. None of them had spoken much since the escape. The tension still clung to them like smoke. Matt finally broke the silence. "So where do we go now?" The pilot, a rough-looking human named Jex, looked back from the cockpit. "Depends how long you want to hide." Sarah looked up, her voice soft. "I'm tired of hiding." Jex shrugged. "Then you'd better be ready to fight." Matt glanced at Sarah. "Is there anywhere safe?" "There's a place," Jex said. "Outer Zone, Station K-17. Mostly abandoned, a few settlements, rough people. But no bounty scanners, no city law." Sarah nodded slowly. "Then that's where we go." Matt stood and walked over to her. "Are you sure? What if they find you again?" Sarah looked down at her children. "They've taken enough from me. I won't let them take my kids. Not again." Matt placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then I'll help you build something better, even if we have to start with nothing." She looked at him, her eyes shining. "Why do you care so much?" Matt gave a tired smile. "Because someone should." Hours passed. Stars shifting as the ship approached Station K-17 from a distance. The station looked like a floating skeleton, broken metal rings around a cracked central dome, but lights flickered. Inside, life still pulsing in the ruins. Jex brought the ship into docking position and lowered the ramp. "You're on your own from here," Kay said. "I got you off the rock. That's my part." Matt nodded. "Thank you. We won't forget." Jex gave a small nod, then turned away. Already powering down the engines, they stepped into the station. The air thick with dust and metal scent, strange faces watched them, aliens with scars. Humans with old eyes, survivors like them. No one spoke, but no one stopped them either. Sarah walked ahead, strong again. Matt carried their bags and Lena held his hand tightly. They found a quiet corner near an old supply room. It was small, but it had walls and a working heater. "This is home now," Sarah said, her voice calm. "For as long as it lasts." Matt set down the bags. "I can fix the wiring, maybe seal the door better." She nodded. "I'll clean the floor, get water from the upper level." Together, without saying much, they began to build something, not just shelter, but hope. Later that night, Sarah sat beside Matt near the small window cut into the metal wall. The stars outside were faint, but still shining. Lena slept beside her baby brother, the two of them warm for the first time in days. Sarah broke the silence. "When I was young, I used to believe stars could protect us, like they were watching, guiding. But now I know." Matt turned to her. "Know what?" Stars can't hide us forever, she said. Only we can decide if we keep running or start living. Matt looked at her with quiet respect. Then let's stop running. She smiled. Together. Yeah. Matt said softly. Together. Just. Then a beep came from Matt's comband. He checked it and froze. What is it? Sierra asked quickly. Matt showed her the message, an encrypted ping from a friend in the city. Voren's team placed a planetary alert. Your faces are flagged across 4 systems. But someone wiped the trail before it reached Central Registry. Someone helped from the inside. Sierra stared at the screen. Why would anyone help us? Matt looked out at the stars again. Because maybe. Not everyone's forgotten how to care. They sat in silence again. Not from fear, but from peace. It wasn't over, not yet. Voren still hunted. The galaxy still turned cold and dangerous. But in a forgotten station, on the edge of nowhere, human and an alien mother had carved out a place of light. Place where kindness still meant something. And maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning of something bigger.